Hi, everyone. Thursday afternoon. I'm just going live to you on Facebook and through my YouTube platform as well for the replay. Today, yes, last week I went over something really cool, which I called the job satisfaction cycle. I'm going to try to re record that because I didn't like the quality of it with the internet slowing down. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it's like 100 degrees here in the States, that's 40 degrees for my friends back home in Canada. And things just don't seem to work when it's that hot. Like the internet goes out, you got to turn off your AC to preserve energy. Uh, right now it's dark. It looks like it's gonna rain, but it's really really hot. Um, and if you noticed, I've made some aesthetic changes to my face. I had a piece of glass yesterday trying to move some tempered glass with my wife. It was shattered, and a piece of glass cut me in the face. But I think it's gonna look great. I think I'm gonna come out of it looking like your stereotypical movie villain. I'm gonna have to get an Irish accent or a Scottish accent or something, and then just start smoking big cigars. I think it's a good look. I'm gonna double check just to make sure that you guys can hear me and everything's going okay. Um, let's see. Yeah, so everything looks good. Um, how's everyone's been? Drop a comment below if you're watching this live or if you're watching in the replay. So last week I went through the job satisfaction cycle. I had a friend of mine. This whole series that I'm doing right now came from watching a friend of mine get a new job and how excited she was when she got it, um, and seeing how burnt out at the tail end of her last job was, and how excited and motivated she was going into the next phase. And it got me thinking about my career and the way that I've kind of reset energy cycles and when I was tired with a place, going to a new place. So today I'm going to kind of go over 5 rules or boundaries, however you want to call it, that you can implement at a new job to prevent burnout. And this is a good one because I don't think we think too much about, you know, burnout when we're feeling good. I think it's just like anything. When you're feeling great, you're just riding high, you're keeping things as is, and there's really no thought about what happens down the road, right? And if this happens with entrepreneurs, this happens in relationships, it happens across the board. We live in the moment and we don't change anything until it breaks, right? But I want to give you guys some tips ahead of time. Like, what are some ways that you can implement some boundaries, some rules around the way you work, the way that you operate, so that you don't have to worry about exhausting yourself down the line, right? And I'm an expert at this because I never did any of these rules, and that's why it was so easy for me to identify them, because it was the stuff that I didn't do, and it was the stuff that in the end got me into usually hot water with myself, with the way I felt about my job, my life, and everything else. So let's assume you just got a new job, right? You're excited. Getting a new job's fun. It's exciting, it's new, it's just like anything new, right? Whether it's a new relationship, whether it's a new opportunity, whether it's a new car, whether it's a new vacation spot. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to feel good about, right? And like I talked about last week, you get that first stage where you're optimistic, right? You're hopeful, you have gratitude because maybe you got a raise in pay. Maybe the stat is when you shift jobs, you go from one place to another, it's typically a 15% increase in salary or compensation. Maybe you have a new title, maybe you have new responsibilities. So everything's new. So some of the feelings I used to feel were, it was fun, it was a little intimidating, right? A little scary. I felt there was a little bit of imposter syndrome when you kind of sink into a new job. There's new colleagues, right? You've got to, in a lot of ways, pay your dues or show your value, right? I think that is something we all feel when we step into a new place, right? We want to come out of the gates strong, we want to show our values, right? But what we do typically is, and I see this parallel in dating. Um, we go above and beyond, and we show up as our best self every single day. And what we do is we push out our boundaries and we focus 100% on the thing in front of us, to the detriment long term on the other aspects of our life. So let's just dive right into it. What's the first thing we do when we start a new job that will come back to kind of haunt us later? And that's leave at a fixed time, right? So whether that's 8 to 5, 9 to 6, 8 to 6, one of the things that we as people tend to do is at the beginning go gung ho, right? Whoever's in there earliest and whoever's there the latest is perceived to be the hardest worker, and we want to be seen as hard workers. We want to be seen as team players, right? But I have to tell you, this is a big one, and this is why I put it number one. Leave work at a fixed time, right? And this I think is super, super important because what this does is sets a precedent. It sets a precedent that you have a life, right? When I see somebody who's at the office past 6 o'clock, right? Very rarely do I think to myself they're a hard worker. More likely, I think that they don't have a life, or the other one is they're inefficient. They're an inefficient worker, right? You're there to do a job, you're there to create results. You're not there to clock in more and more hours. It's not like you've produced more widgets because you're sitting at your desk. And the worst thing is you're sitting at a clean desk and you're like just sitting there, right? What are you doing? Checking the internet, checking the news. A lot of people use the excuse, well, I'm waiting for traffic to die down, right? Get a little few more extra reps in, right? We don't see that translate in output, right? That doesn't translate to output. So leaving is important, right? Leaving because when you set that precedent of being at your desk at 6, 6:30, 7, 8, well, what happens a year down the line when that's just your norm, right? What are you giving up? What are you sacrificing by putting yourself in that position, right? Number two, I like this one too because it kind of speaks more to results. And I think that burnout happens when we're overworked and underappreciated. Well, number two is about determining a goal. So, what's your 6 month goal? And this could be something you talk about with your new manager, your new boss, your new client, if you're a consultant. What's establish a 6 month goal? Something that you can work towards to hit. What does success look like for you in 6 months, right? At this role. Because I think most everybody understands that when you're in a long-term position or you're going into a new place, it will take you about 6 months to get up and running. Like very few people can get down, and produce real value in a month, right? Usually takes 6 months to figure out how this place works, the systems, how you can optimize, how you can add value, right? So having a 6 month goal to work towards also helps keep you focused and will keep you excited for the next phase, right? So that's number two. Number three, don't volunteer for every new assignment. And this is kind of a twofold. It's that joke, what do you do when you do good work? What do you get when you do good work? More work, right? Well, you're establishing that you will take on everything, that you have no boundaries around the work that you'll take on and the need that is provided. So when you take on new projects, great, that's fantastic. But you can do a lot of projects within the time allocated to you. Typically, you'll do them less at a less quality, or you'll have to compensate by putting in more time, right? And by and large, your managers didn't really ask for that, and your bosses didn't really ask. You're volunteering for it. So who's not going to love when somebody volunteers for this? But what happens is you pile on and you pile on yourself, and you're not saying no to things. You're saying yes to things, and you're bringing it on because you want to make a good impression early on. But what happens 2 years from now when you're overworked, underpaid, and all your time used up for a job? what could be a fantastic opportunity has turned into something that you now resent, right? And resentment is the killer. So it's better at the beginning to focus on what's the goal that measures your success, and to pick a project, or a handful of projects that will highlight your skills, that are things that you can contribute to right away, that will add value, that give you an opportunity to work within the dynamics of a company or a team or with a new group of clients, and will showcase your skills at a very high level. That's much more valuable than being the yes man or woman who does everything, or person, right? I'm going to go to another 4. Take a lunch break. That's that I think is an overlooked one that not a lot of people really focus on, but it's so important. It's so important to take a lunch break, to take some kind of a break during the day, to reset yourself, to connect with people, to separate and create like a work and life balance. Balance your morning with your afternoon. Do something that helps you recharge. Like I used to love going to work out at lunch or go grab a coffee and just, stare out into the world. Meditation, I would meditate. I still do meditate at lunch. Taking a nap, phenomenal. 20 minutes power nap will recharge you for the afternoon and make you feel like a new person, right? Or go have lunch with someone. Go connect with your network. Go connect with a friend. Like we build a cage around ourselves at work, and then we're surprised when we're not happy, right? Go to work, then go and have a life, right? And I think lunch is one of those times that you can go do that. You can go and take some time for yourself and create that blissful moment in the middle of the day where you're looking forward to something, right? That leads me to the last point, and it's schedule something fun, or schedule something that you can look forward to at the end of the day. Say positive at the end of the day. A lot of what we do in our life is unintentional, reactive, right? We know in the morning we wake up, we go to work. And if you're, a parent, if you're a, husband, wife, you have children at home, you've got this schedule of I've got to pick up the kids and I've got to take them to this activity and I've got to do this. And you schedule your life around the I have to do's, and you don't leave any room in your life for these things that will bring some joy and bring some relaxation and bring you some enjoyment in your day. And I think that we can create this on a daily basis. And this is so powerful in preventing burnout. So powerful. One, when you schedule something at the end of the day that's positive or something that you're looking forward to, it helps to have integrity with this first one, which is leaving a time. Because you have something to go to. You have something you're looking forward to. There's something that's going to fill you up. Secondly, you're not putting all of your fun eggs into the weekend basket, right? Which is like the worst thing, because I know I felt this very strongly. I would just try to trip my way or stumble my way to Friday, and then on Friday and Saturday and Sunday I would try to do everything. And when I didn't, I got disappointed and I was exhausted because I tried to do too many things on the weekend. And I would turn into Monday tired, miserable, resentful, and having those thoughts of I just wish I wasn't here, right? And I think that when we schedule some fun on a Monday, on a Wednesday, on a Thursday, on a Tuesday, right? Or something that's relaxing. It doesn't have to be an activity. It doesn't have to be going out. It doesn't have to be, you know, going to a play, going to a movie, going, to a sporting event. It could just be, maybe it's a 40-minute walk by the river. Maybe it's, going out for dinner on a Tuesday, right? For me, I love to have midweek tennis. I've implemented that into my routine, where midweek tennis is kind of a non-negotiable for me, and I've arranged it with my wife and with the kids, and with the exception of urgent care stitches, I try to make it to that 6:30 Wednesday night time every week. One, something I love doing. Two, I get to see my friends, I get to see my peers, I get to be part of the community. I walk around, it rejuvenates me, and I don't have to wait till Friday to be happy. So I just want to reiterate and kind of go back through this. These are rules you can implement now, even if you've been in a job for a long time, but especially when you're going somewhere new. Leave work at a fixed time, create a 6 month goal for yourself that you can aim for. Don't volunteer for every new assignment and raise your hand every single time someone needs work done. Take a lunch break. Schedule something positive at the end of the day, right? If you just try combination of those things, you're going to be set up for success for the long term at the beginning, right? And there's really not much more I can add to that. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you are feeling that burnout, if you're at a new company, if this is something that you want to explore further, you can always contact me directly. I love to help build protocols for people and help to build kind of a plan that works for them. I've also in the show notes attached in my link to the burnout quiz. So if you're feeling like you are burnt out or you have a friend who you think might be at risk, definitely forward it to them. Um, you don't know where you are if you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you are. So hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.